at our place. There's a scale at which I can attend everything, and I can know every plant, and I can know every gopher in the system so that it works. And I think when you lose that stewardship ability by scaling up too much, then you start becoming dependent upon those external inputs that we've been talking about trying to replace. And finally, something called food democracy is a core value. Food democracy, where we really do have a voice and a choice in what goes on. But I'll throw this at you here sort of towards the end. That's Farmer John in his bedroom, and chickens up there with their again, why is it that the revolution always gets this far and then everyone just chickens out? No chicken out allowed now in this movement. And a few references just to be thinking about. You might know about a lot of these. The IOSTAD report of 2007, an intergovernmental report with about 150 scientists working together, proposing what goes on, what happens beyond the crossroads that agriculture is in. And agroecology is a big part of the solution. Or the most recent UN Rapporteur Right to Food, Olivier de Schutter, who really stood up and spoke for this right to food and how agroecology was and is the main way to move towards sustainability in the systems. And just last September, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations held, for the first time ever, a symposium on agroecology for nutrition and food security. And I remember at the end of it, the director of FAO standing up and saying this, we've just opened a little window in the cathedral of the Green Revolution called FAO with this conference. And now they're holding regional conferences in 3 parts of the world in agroecology, looking beyond the conventional approach, especially the Green Revolution or the genetically modified approach. And just recently, this group called the International Panel of Experts for Sustainable Food Systems, IPES Food, has been developed. There's the website for it that just kind of a couple weeks ago, where this group is actually taking on this job of confronting the dominant power in our food systems with a political agroecology approach to create alternative policies to support the transition from level 1 through to level 5 that I just finished talking about. The change is happening. It's coming. But we need every one of you to be part of it in this process. Here's some contacts for you to think about. My own, our nonprofit, the Community Agroecology Network, even our little farm, if you want to follow what we're doing there, and then the agroecology website, which lists the principles and approaches and some case studies for what agroecology is all about. So I think I'll stop there, and thank you very much for your attention, and let's have some questions. Thank you. I'll take this.
Sorry, I'm taking notes still.
Like a good journalist.
That was really intense, Steve. Really great. I want to try to, I think I want to try to tease a couple things out of here that I hope are not offensive and are maybe helpful. I'm right in saying nothing is truly sustainable, right? We can approach sustainability, we can't achieve sustainability, at least if we're trying to grow food.
That is a good question. And I've always thought of sustainability as a goal, as a process, something we're working towards. Of course, by the time we get to where we think we'll want to be, things will have changed and you'll need to be moving to the next phase. Because I've learned that, I think, from small farmers who every year do something a little different. They'll see what works and what doesn't work. They're constantly selecting and adapting and choosing and moving because they're in a changing environment and a changing culture and a changing set of conditions that really drive for change. But what's been frustrating a little bit over the years is how the term sustainability has been misused and used for just about anything. And when it takes on something, well, that someone will say, well, I've been doing it for 20 years, it must be sustainable. But when you look at it agroecologically, you know it's not. And so there's the difference. But it's still a useful term. It really gives us a way of looking at indicators of health of a system, health at all levels, from ecological to economic to social.
Can you scientifically pretend that a system is a closed system and see what's being lost and measure sustainability that way?
Oh, we've done that with several agroecosystems where we know the input-output relationships with a whole lot of different components, from nutrients to water to other aspects, what we put in, what we take out, what nature adds, what we add, and how they impact processes. Now, agroecosystems are, have a structure and a set of functions. And those functions are everything from nutrient cycling to biological control to other aspects of how the system works. And then the structure in which all that happens, we can understand it as well. So we really do have tools in ecology that I think we can use to understand that element of sustainability pretty well. I mean, we can talk about soil health and measure it and watch it change over time.
You took me to see a milpa, a couple actually, and you talk about the three sisters as if it were a holy trinity. What makes it so? What makes it? I'm sure there are other systems around the world that approach the same thing, but what makes these close to truly sustainable? What makes them ideals to approach?
Well, we can look towards the past, number one, and realize those systems have been functioning for millennia. That's one indicator of sustainability. Another is you look at the families and the communities that still maintain and nurture and manage those systems. And as you yourself tasted in the kitchen when we were in that community, it produces an incredible richness of material for an incredible gastronomic experience. All local, all part of the culture, and that piece itself. And then just with our understanding, when I say the milpa and the corn, beans, and squash, the corn, beans, and squash are just a small part of that system. We saw all the other things that were growing there as well. Some of them edible, some of them just important because they produced organic matter, or they attracted a beneficial insect, or it served as a repellent or something. It was all part of a system. It's as complex as can be.
Right, that was my next comment. You'd speak of it as if it's beans, corn, and squash, which is a foundation, of course, but it is thousands of years of what now we'd call technology, development of technology.
Oh, yeah. It is. It's something we always used to refer to as traditional agricultural technology, because it does have a technology, maybe an eco-technology or an agro-eco-technology, if you want to call it that. But also, as you move from one part of Mexico to another, and one country to another, where the Mayan base is so strong and corn is the key, and beans and squash are in some way or another associated, you'll see in some places it's two of them and not the third. Or they're planted in the same hole in one place, all the seed together. Or they're interplanted at some space. Or maybe the corn's planted first, and when they double the corn over, getting ready to let it dry in the field, then they'll come in and plant the beans. It's just every mixture you can imagine. But when we start looking at those systems from an agroecological perspective, we begin seeing the relationships, the interconnections, the interdependencies between the parts, how they actually function, and the role that the people play in making sure they do.